Hi folks, we have a little thing today about using Audacity to get recordings to me for virtual choirs and stuff, okay? Now, one of the things I've mentioned is that recordings that I've been getting on phones, that have been done on phone apps, they kind of squash the sound. They have the effect of not allowing dynamics through. Um, the phone apps, they try to keep the volume level the same all the way through. So they turn the microphone up when you're singing quietly, and they'll turn the microphone down when you're singing loudly, so that it has the effect of not allowing me to hear any dynamics that you're doing. It has a secondary effect that if you're singing very quietly, it will turn the microphone up to the extent that you can hear background noise. I've heard some grandfather clocks. I've been able to hear the recording of me that you're singing along to. None of that's desirable. So Audacity is an option here. Okay, here it is. Now, all this is going to do then is use the microphone built into your laptop to record whatever it is that you're doing. A quick reminder that when you're making your recording, do please listen to my version that you're singing along to on headphones. That's so that I don't get multiple versions of me. It does cause some audio artifacts. I had one recording one week where I had to turn one singer down to the point that they were virtually inaudible in the final mix, and it was because their recording contained the sound of my voice as well, which conflicted with the actual recording that I'd put on, if that makes sense. Anyway, here we go. Let's make a recording. How great thou art, how great thou art. I intentionally did some stupid dynamics there, but you can see that it's let the dynamics through. That's me, I'm singing loud there. This is a kind of mezzo forte kind of sound, and then I kind of intentionally diminuendo to sort of piano down there. So that is going to let the dynamics through, which means that we have more options for dynamics when we're making our kind of virtual choir recordings. Another thing with this, I've had a bit of confusion with people that have recorded on Audacity and then struggled to send me the actual recording. Now, here's the reason. If I go to Save Project, we get a warning here, which is actually going to explain what I'm about to explain. We can save the project. We'll just put it there on the desktop. Okay, let's find it. Here it is. Now, it's created two things here. It's created a folder, which is the data of my recording, and it's also created an AUP file, which is an Audacity project file. If we inspect that, we can see that it's very, very small indeed. 1.8 kilobytes is incredibly small. And actually, it's useless without the data. It's a file that just tells Audacity where to look for the data. It's a little bit like if you had, say, a PDF, but it only contained the information of where to look for pictures and words. It didn't actually contain pictures and words. So if you sent that to me, it would be essentially useless to me. I wouldn't be able to do anything with that. In order to send me the actual recording, instead of saving the file, you need to export the file. Okay, so we go here, File, Export, and you've got some options here. WAV will result in a file that you could burn onto a CD and play on a standard CD player, but it's usually going to be too big to send as an email attachment. The recordings typically that you'll be doing for me are probably 2 to 3 minutes. If you exported that as a WAV file, that you'd probably be looking at around 30 megabytes, probably a little bit more. Certainly too much to add to an email. So you probably want to go for MP3, which is this kind of standard compressed format. A file that you generate for a 2 to 3 minute recording is likely to be between 2 and 4 megabytes, which is small enough to send on an email, but big enough to know that it contains some actual information, unlike that 1.8 kilobyte file. And then OGG is a free and open source version of MP3, but either one is good. If we save it here as MP3, You'll see what I mean. Incidentally, my naming convention, the naming convention that I use, if you do get a chance to follow this, I'd greatly appreciate it. Although I understand if not, I've had some problem with recordings getting to me just named like a date and time. Um, I've been very grateful to those people that have tagged their recording with their own name because it just makes it a bit easier for me to stay organised. But the recording convention that I use is the initial of the part, so A for alto, for example, and then a name afterwards, so Florence or whatever. I can't spell Florence. And that just lets me know who it is. I've not used the name of anybody in my choirs there. You get an option to tag it. You don't need to bother with that, but you can do if you want. And then it's going to save it for me. It's just saved it here on my desktop. And if I inspect that, I can see that, well, it's still measured in kilobytes instead of megabytes, but that's because it's such a short recording. But at least it's enough to kind of be somewhat meaningful. And I can also open that with a media player. I'm not sure you can hear that. I'm not sure if the desktop audio comes through on this recording, but I can hear that through my speakers. With this one, I don't get the option of opening it with any kind of media player. Well, except Audacity, but that's because it understands those kind of project files. So there we go. That is how, hopefully, you can use Audacity to make recordings, export them to MP3, and email them through to me. Any questions, do let me know. Most of you have got my personal email address. You can always send me off an email. Most people watching this video will have me on WhatsApp as well, so you can always contact me however you can. In the meantime, good luck with this, folks, and I hope to see you next time. See you later. Bye-bye.